I saw an Instagram post this morning from an account that I can't remember the name of, but I'll put it on screen in a minute, and I put a screenshot. But the quote said, "Ugly action beats perfection." Now, I'm not sure that it's right in all scenarios, but I guess essentially what it's kind of saying is just get on with it, rather than worry about it being perfect. And this is quite a good mantra if you're doing YouTube. Just get stuff out there. Don't sit and wait if you think that you need to make the most perfect video before you put it out there. Just put any rubbish out there to start with, because people won't watch it in the first instance anyway. But just get started, essentially. Now, that's a whole different topic, but the reason I wanted to mention that was because it just kind of reminded me of my my journal that I've started. So I've often thought about trying journaling, and I've tried morning pages, and it's not, I don't think it's quite for me. The whole kind of Dear Diary thing is not quite my my thing. I've got plenty of notepads that I keep a track of stuff in. Not track as in habit tracking, but just like some mileage and expenses and things like that, and just various bits and pieces. But in terms of a daily journal where I write something down, I've never really been able to get on with it. I do fairly regularly do some sketching, but it's not a daily activity. I want to make that a daily activity, but anyway, back to journaling. Ugly beats perfection. Hopefully by now I've put on screen the Instagram account. There's loads of interesting little things from that account, which I quite like. Anyway, I got these Leuchtturm notepads maybe a year, 2 years ago. And I was going to keep them for something special. And because these are quite nice notepads, and typically these should cost, if you look on the back here, it says RRP of like $16.99, but I paid $4.99 for these in one of my favorite stationery shops, which is TK Maxx. I always thought I would keep them for something really useful and keep them neat and tidy. Gonna waffle and digress a minute. Bit like this one that I started. So this is another Leuchtturm notepad, and what I've done in this one is I've been keeping a track of hotels and travel that I've been going in. Just keeping a track of sort of, let me just find a good example. Not gonna be able to see, I guess, but just how much flights cost, what airport parking cost, what hotels I stayed in, perhaps where we ate, that kind of stuff. And this is an ongoing thing. It'll be interesting to look back at one day, perhaps. But that was something I thought was a specific purpose to use that notepad for, rather than just scribbling in it like I do with like my field notes, which could have a shopping list one day. It could have a sketch the next day. It could just have a random phone number that I needed to write down or something. Back to this one. I decided to start a health journal. I promised myself, by the way, I wasn't going to waffle on this video, but we're just going to go for it now. So I decided to start a health and fitness journal. I started a new pair of walking shoes, and based on some previous experience where I tried to work out how long or how far I'd walked in my previous pair, I thought I'd start keeping a track. So I'm using Strava to try and record every time I go out and do a significant walk in those shoes, rather than just maybe pop into the bottom of the garden and back. But everything I do, anything that's more like a mile or more, I'm trying to track them, because then hopefully over time I can work out, that I've walked 500 miles in them or something. That, along with my desire to get fitter, I decided to start a kind of a fitness journal. And day one started quite well. I wrote down a walk that I went on. I went for a bike ride that day as well. I made a note of the shoes I was starting to wear and made a few little notes on them. Talked about my bike ride, some issues I've got. It looks like I had a bit of a, well, it looks like I do remember, it wasn't very long ago. I had some issues with the tyre, need to pump up. Just kind of talking about why the ride took as long as it did, even though I didn't go very far, for instance. So I wrote a few things down, what I ate that day, and then went for another dog walk in the evening. So day one was quite good, and according to my phone, which I used to do all the tracking that day, I done about 15,000 steps. So I thought this was a good entry. This was a good start to my my fitness journal. Then, you know, day 2, made a note what I've had for breakfast. Didn't do much in terms of exercise. My wife works in a school. It's now summer holidays, and during the summer holidays, she does tend to pick up a lot of the dog walks. So I need to be quite conscious about the exercise that I'm doing. So, for instance, that day I only recorded like 3,500 steps, which is just terrible. It just shows my static lifestyle sat at my desk, so it's not great. The following day I've got here almost 5 hours in the car, then another 3 to 4 hours in like meetings. I did nothing. I took the dogs for a walk when I went home in the evening because I had to get out, which was good. I forced myself to do that. I could very easily have come and sat down, but anyway, what I'm trying to get at here is this is ugly. It's not perfection. Some days there's a bit of a scribble and there's not much. Some days I'm writing a bit more, but essentially what I've started to do is to write a centered around my sort of activities. I'm writing a kind of a journal at last. I never thought I'd write a journal, because this is now open every day and I'm making some notes on it. I even made some notes about a film I watched the other night. So this has turned into a little bit more than I thought it was going to. So I am going to keep this up. I think these have got 120 odd pages. What does it say here? 123 pages in total. So we'll see. We'll see how I get on. I mean, that's a third of the year. That's, you know, 3-4 months that I'm gonna use this for. We'll see how I get on with it. But don't stress, I suppose, is what I'm getting at. Is don't stress that you have to have a particular layout for your journal, or, you know, like bullet journaling, for instance. And there's so many videos talking about how their different spreads and layouts work. Just get on with it. It doesn't matter how messy it is, how scruffy it is, what the content is. This has kind of just made me rethink the whole journaling thing this week, or this last 2 weeks since I've been using it. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to continue and see how we get on for 120 odd days. It'd be interesting to see if I get into the flow of writing more or writing less. I don't know, we'll see, but I'm going to keep 1 day per page. So we'll see how we get on, and yeah, stick with me. I'll maybe give you an update on this in a month's time, and we'll go from there, really. But yeah, just ugly beats perfection in some instances, definitely in this. I mean, exercise. I mean, don't worry about going out and running a marathon. Go and walk around the block for a couple of hours, you know, or whatever. You know what I mean? Ugly beats perfection, anyway. So while I've got your attention, if you are still watching, I also started a Premier League 25 to 26 notepad this week. I'm going to track my my fantasy football. So I've written out the first couple of weeks of games, and I'm going to start planning my my fantasy football league. I might get bored of that. I don't know yet. We'll see. But I've joined a league with some local guys, and yeah, it'd be quite fun to plan it and be a little bit more thoughtful about what players you want to get in a few weeks' time. I'm not going to explain to you how fantasy football works. If you're interested, maybe I'll make a video on it, but I doubt you will be. So, but that's something else I'm going to kind of keep going. And then I just thought I'd just bring this to your attention, and it gives me an excuse to put a link below as well. We'll all write, you know, we'll keep notepads and maybe fuss about creating a layout for doing certain things. My son works as a carpenter on a you know, as a contractor, and I keep telling him to make a note of his hours, and he does keep a note of them. He doesn't do it very often. He does it pretty poorly sometimes. But basically, this last week he went on Amazon and he picked this up for, I think it was like about £7. And of course now he's got this at hand in his van, apart from today because his van is in the garage having an MOT. But he's now got this sitting around every day, so he writes it down every day when it comes along, and actually it's made things a lot easier for him. And I think that's the power of having a notebook, and having a notebook that's dedicated to something, you know, like my ones where I'm keeping track of some some financial stuff and some, you know, mileage and things like that. Having a specific notepad for those sort of purposes actually is really good, and this I think is going to be really good for my son. So yeah, I promised I wasn't going to waffle, and we're on to 10 minutes. I'm going to come back and make some comments on this video in a couple of weeks' time to see what percentage of people are watching at 10 minutes, and after how long everybody tuned out even. Right, I gotta go now. I'm not even going to edit this. I'm just going to put it straight up on to the channel. Let's just get a nice shot for the thumbnail.